Executive function involves a number of things. One is emotional regulation. Now, imagine you're in a train station, lots of trains, lots of timetables, and you're not quite certain what this means and where that goes, and it becomes quite emotionally dysregulating. And so understanding things becomes harder. Part of your brain starts to essentially shut down. The connections between different parts of your brain don't work so well. The bits of your brain that should be involved in memory and in understanding start to be involved in searching out fear and focusing on fear. And so when you're emotionally dysregulated, understanding this kind of thing becomes harder. And then when you do miss your stop, you find that emotionally extraordinarily difficult to deal with. Other things that it involves, sequencing. So one of the things about dyslexia is that we often have sequencing issues. Now, classically, people might say left and right, and that's sequencing, but time is also sequencing. What comes first? Prioritization is sequencing. So these things. So this idea of sequencing. The next thing it involves is what they call purposive action. That essentially means task initiation, task switching, and if you like, intentionality initiation, intentionality switching. So what is it that you're focusing on, and how do you then focus on something else afterwards? You're at this stop, and then what happens then? And so switching between these things. There is also the organizational aspect. So you've got to organize things in your head, and working memory. So you've got one thing in your head that you've got to do that then followed by another thing, and this thing's gone. And this idea of having to hold all these things in a line in your head while you're looking at that, then that, this is gone by then. And so this working memory is very deeply involved with executive function. Now, if you take all of those things together, something that seems like a simple task of knowing when the train arrives and which stop to get off at becomes a really difficult, complex, complicated, emotionally overwhelming task.